Most of the C teams are playing her as support, though. That's been the big trend for SEA. I think I've seen the carry and mid Dawnbreakers more in Eastern Europe and Western Europe. So I'm expecting this Dawnbreak to be support. She's just really strong in lane. It feels like she doesn't lose lanes at all.
Yeah.
Even as a melee support, it's just like, yeah, she just crushes you.
So then you really see the value in her being a first phase, potentially even a first pick.
Oh, yeah. I think anytime you have a hero that can, you're usually, particularly when you're a first overall pick, you want to be picking heroes that can flex rolls. It just makes it hard for your opponents to answer your drop because they can't be like, okay, let's pick our offlaner now because we know the matchup, or let's pick our safe lane carry because we know we're against these two heroes. You just don't know whenever there's a Dawnbreaker. Maybe, as I said, maybe in SEA you know a bit better because it's support, but we've seen 4 and 5 position. But at the same time, I don't think there's any like, okay, they picked Dawn, we want to play this core. Maybe you want like a Monkey King or something, but even then it's like, it can still be rough.
You know what's surprising to me is that like Dawnbreaker is countered pretty hard by like Nyx Assassin, for example, because if she ever tries to open a fight, if you spike Carapace and walk in, it cancels it. Okay. And Nyx is a hero we've seen like from here to there that C teams have been picking up a bit more. So it surprises me we don't see them more often in response to Dawnbreaker, but I don't know, some teams I guess probably aren't comfortable because he is like played a certain way. He's more for scouting and trying to do like pickoffs and whatever. Maybe they're not like wanting to play that type of style.
Do you think RSG could pick it up in what they have so far in their lineup? If
right now?
Tiny?
No.
Okay.
I think that'd be horrible.
Maybe they worry about the lanes because I don't. Do you think Nyx does well against Dawn in lane? Because to me that's like something very Dawn favored. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, true. Potentially. I mean, maybe they could pick a carry that's like a little bit more defensive because we've been seeing some like when T1 played Dragon Knight carry, I thought that was like a really amazing idea because they put it there to dodge a Batrider pick, I think. But still, I think Fear has been very anti like the hard carry type heroes. And you know, if you lose your lane and you're a hard carry, well, you suck now and you're useless. It's just like, yeah, well, why don't we do more of these faster heroes like SMG? They're not afraid to pick Leshrac carry for mid one.
Quap carry.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll do weird stuff.
I was going to say, this draft, though, is progressing. I feel like we've talked about Dawn a lot. The Puck and the Darkseer on the side of RSG, and then Dragon Knight and Pugna for Polaris.
So Darkseer is an offlaner. I think one of the offlanes we see quite a bit against Dusa. That's what usually NGXC will do because they've got Mizu and he loves playing Darkseer. So for RSG, we'll see Zhao Yu. He plays a little Darkseer. I wouldn't say he's like a big Darkseer guy, but you know, it's a hero I think with the right partner you can potentially run over the lane. It looks like we're going to see Darkseer Tiny. I think early level's a bit weak, but once they get those levels going, suddenly, like level 3, level 4, they have potential to try and, you know, run over the lane.
Darkseer, for me, from what I've seen in the DPC, is very shaky as a hero. Especially against Medusa, you think it's good to take the illusion of her and all, but actually, like, with her mana shield, she's so tanky that the illusion really doesn't do that much, to be honest. And I'm probably not going to threaten the Medusa in lane, let's be honest. So she's going to free farm. I think like Polaris right now are just specking really hard into keeping Dusa alive between the heal from Pugna that can replenish her mana shield as well as her health. The ward that's going to do like damage reduction. They have the DK to cover like lockdown for things like the Puck. Like, but the heal on Dawnbreaker, like right now, I see an unkillable Medusa. I don't know what RSG have no damage.
Yeah, and they're going to go into their last pick. I feel like they have to pick a carry, unless they're doing Tiny carry, which I'm not a fan of against Dusa. Dusa was like the counter pick to carry Tiny. And every single carry that's good against Dusa is banned out because they waited to last pick their carry. Like, the Monkey was the last one I was looking at. Like, it feels like they got to go Monkey because AM, Ursa's banned. Like, what's left against Dusa? And now they're going to have to do like some Drow Ranger or TB, I guess. Which, you know, you're just not going to feel good about. I hope they pick something like Drow or Sniper just because I don't see what else is going to save this drop. I don't think... I still favor Polaris' drop, but those, to me, the heroes...
Oh my god! Hey, no way!
Okay, their own character... I honestly... It's...
I did ask
okay,
you.
Sorry.
No, I put it out there. I put it out there. You know?
You're right, but... You're right,
I hate
but...
RSG's
Can we
drop.
just clip that? I don't think I've ever heard Sheep say
I think they have no damage. I really hate this drop.
They're playing carry Tiny into Dusa. Unless this Dusa gets crushed in lane, this game is just over.
And you guys already said you don't think she's going to be crushed in lane, right?
No, I think she's getting a free lane. I would like to be proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong, RSG.
Yeah. It's a Nyx Darkseer. It has potential. Like, it's a very, like, snowballer lane. If they get a kill and manage to, like, if Polaris make a mistake, you can crush the lane, but that's a big if.
Tundra used to play this lane a lot, and it was pretty nice.
The Nyx Darkseer?
Yeah, and I love watching that. That was when 33 was buying like Orchid Darkseer and stuff. I don't know what he's gonna buy, probably Ags, but.
All right, I'm gonna ask you guys then. Put all your thoughts together and pick a team.
Polaris.
Polaris.
Okay, I thought
We're
maybe
probably
there was
jinxing
something.
this, but yeah, it's just Polaris. Polaris Dusa with like the freest Dusa game ever,
Yeah.
unless the only if is if she gets stomped in lane.
Yeah, all their lanes are really good. Like DK versus Puck, like DK's gonna be fine. They have a Dawnbreaker Snapfire lane that's super aggressive, and you're playing like into Tiny Warlock, and Warlock's probably gonna keep Tiny alive and able to farm. So he will farm, but still, like I don't see Force being shut down at all. God.
All right, I mean, you guys have convinced me. There's just no way Polaris lose this, right?
No.
Absolutely no
It's
way
over.
at all.
Absolutely not at all.
That is going to be us for the draft, though, on the panel. We are going to head over and ask Mike and John the same question. Who do they think is going to win game 1?
Oh, thank you so much for asking that. It is indeed MLP Dota and johnxfire. Jonathan, you and I. So these panel members, they have no idea what they're talking about. Luckily, they've thrown it to us now. This draft from RSG, I actually love it, right? Warlock right now, I don't want to show off, Jonathan. I'm 8-0 on pubs right now. It's a broken hero. You think about this, John. Fatal Bonds, Avalanche Toss combinations, Dream Coils, Vacuum Walls, and now you've got a Nyx Assassin that you particularly wanted to see with the Darkseer to work against the Medusa. This is a great draft, in my opinion, to deal with the Medusa. You know how bad that Mana Burn's going to annoy this Dusa later on in the game as well, especially if you get an Aghanim Scepter. I actually think RSG, if they can make this draft work, if they can kind of get the Wombo combos going, John, I think this could be a painful game for Polaris.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of momentum that RSG can play with. There's some early timings they'd have to meet. The tie-in lane's the most important. MKS has to be able to hold up against that Dawnbreaker Snapfire lane that they are going to be bringing out in Polaris. So the laning pressure from Polaris has to be met, but RSG is a team that does like to play aggressive. Already at the smoke and smoke. Xiaobon breaks it up north. Might be under threat here, but there's only 2 heroes chasing so far. No skill points yet spent on Xavius. Just a bit of an interruption, cutting off the wider 5v5. But I want to go back to your points here, Mike. Like, Warlock, I mean, you know, when I was spamming a lot of Warlock, you're like, oh, this hero is so bad, and now it gets touched up a little bit, now you're raving about it. It's still the same hero. It's just, it takes a few numbers for some idiots to think it's good. You know, for years, it's not high enough, and now it's buffed. It's really good. It's like, it was always kind of good in the right hands, Mikey.
No, it
just
wasn't,
needed to know
Jonathan.
how to play it. It was.
It wasn't.
It was.
John.
It was. I mean, think about it. What got buffed? Upheaval. You even said it's a trash spell. You don't even use it that much.
I don't use Upheaval, but what I'm saying, the whole meta changed, John. We're in this kind of weird healing meta now, right? I'm not saying Warlock itself got buffed. I'm saying in this meta, Fatal Bonds and the heal during laning stage is just busted. I think Upheaval is just an unnecessary ability. I know it's good.
It's really good.
I'm just saying it's not even necessary.
It's really good. I'd say Upheaval in certain situations is probably one of the best crowd control spells. The cast range is ridiculous. The radius is big. It's really obnoxious, especially once BKBs tick down. So it gives Warlock a little bit more utility going forward. And the one thing with Warlock in this lane, though, looking at that bot lane, is it's going to be up against a lot of aggression. You pointed out the potential here. The Fatal Bonds with all the AoE coming up from MKS and even from our Puck down line is going to be great. But the initial levels just feel a bit rough. There's a lot of damage, a lot of clear, and a lot of stuns that Polaris can play with. Maybe by level 2, level 3, that's when you start to see that really leveraged with a Starbreaker coming through and the Cookie combination on hand. And that's where things can get a little bit dicey. But you already see Roger just shoves out the Fatal Bonds, clears out the wave, allows MKS to clear out the wave, and just get a shove in and just keep farming. Not allowing any angles for Polaris to come in. Roger just putting his body forward and is winning that right-click trade with Xavius. I mean, Warlock's right-click deceptively high. Xavius not as much on his hand.
It's actually pretty nice. We'll have a look at the other lanes as well where we have a chance. Of course, mid lane, Lelouch going to be against XC Learn. John, I don't even want to ask you how this lane goes. We know it's going to be a boring-ass lane with DK versus Puck, and chances are they're going to evenly trade. If not, Lelouch probably just takes over the mid lane because it's Dragon Knight. So shall we move up to the top lane? In fact, we might have to look back down bot, John, because MKS is in trouble and is going to drop as they get the stickers down as well here on Polaris' end of things. Force and Xavius able to secure first blood already on this Tiny.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Again, Warlock early on the laning phase doesn't provide much, especially if you go for Bonds level 1. It allows you to shove out and get some harassment in. With that early spike from Polaris, with the stun threat, with the damage they have, and that early level in the Scatter Blast can easily burst down a Tiny. Even if you had level 1 Shadow Word, you probably wouldn't have enough sustain to hold true that a magical burst from Polaris in the laning. So you just kind of have to watch for those early levels there. On RSG's end, you have the level 2 on Roger. That does allow him to trade a little bit here, and he does have the Mango and Clarity on hand, so you can afford to cast that a couple of times on himself to get some harassment off. Supposing down the line though, once you have higher tree grab levels, more damage coming through, the chains will hurt without committing too much from RSG. So Roger can just look for a good chains lineup on both heroes and a wave, and MKS can get some good harassment off while just farming.
We're talking about the top lane though, Jonathan. I mean, if you've got Natsumi and TMV there against Xiao Yu and Xiao Bonbon, as they do actually get a nice little impale off onto TMV, but is there a good way of slowing down Natsumi here, or do you think it's going to be a very free laning stage for this Dusa? Because the panel did assume the Medusa should have a very free game, and at least for now, Natsumi is having that free game they talked about.
Yeah, I don't think you really stop the Dusa here. Your emphasis is just getting levels up, getting your own farm going without feeding too much to Dusa. And that is something Darkseer can do. One issue with melee versus Dusa is snakes are a problem, but for Darkseer, you plop the Iron Shell, you clear out the wave, you just let your Nyx kind of trade hits with a Pugna, play around with Spike Carapace, and you still get that flow in that Xiao Yu is going to need. So you just kind of hold for the long game, allow the Dusa to build up, and the one thing for RSG they have to do in this lane to prevent the Dusas from really snowballing is just keep an eye on the jungle. Xiao Bonbon should be able to get that done down the line. You guys have to be careful about the trades. Level 1 Spike Carapace, not the shortest cooldown in the world to trade back. TMV makes good use of that by just getting some harassment off.
Absolutely. Still, only first blood being drawn so far. Heroes are getting low across the map, but not quite low enough to take them down. It's 4, spot lane, gonna try again onto MKS, and they do have so much damage with the cookie setup. MKS being healed up with the Shadow Word, and is barely gonna be able to survive. Though it is still a level 1 Shadow Word, so kind of hard to keep MKS up healthy, but Roger about to hit that level 3 mark now, so can go for the 2 levels in it. And now it should be much easier to keep MKS alive. And this is that point as the Pos 5 Warlock where you start to feel really good. All you need is some clarities or some mangoes, and you should just be able to keep your Pos 1 healthy the rest of the laning stage.
Yeah, you hold true. You did feed first blood earlier on, but you don't mind. You're at the point where MKS is still farming pretty well, not as well as the Deuces lane, just down to the pressure that Force and Xavius are applying, but should still be able to get that build-up you need on the Tiny. So this is the point where Roger can just kind of hold steady, maybe even look for some opportunities with MKS. He does go for the tree grab levels, of course, as the Pos 1 Tiny, so no threat of Avalanche Toss early on. And for Force and Xavier, it's kind of just about disrupting that farm. They try to get a pull-off, don't manage to line it up with a creep wave. They are still getting some good build-up here on Force, who again, standing in for Nevermind, who is not here to play, but they're just allowing Force to play his game. Once level 6 is up, that's when Polaris' aggression can spread across the map. We've seen it with the Dawnbreakers before. You have that threat of Solar Guardian up, you can be anywhere on the map to follow up in a gank.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Xavius gonna run right into Roger. Roger, wake up, sir. Xavius is very low on HP right now, and that's gonna be what? Nah, it shouldn't be a free kill. He's got Fairy Fire and Stick Charges. He's gonna have to go for the TP out. He's gonna be fine. Xavius almost kind of walking away scot-free there, as now top lane, they've got the Pugna. TMV trying to get some stacks going, or rather protect the stacks that were being made by himself, but they are going to be taken by RSG. It's another thing you have to be very wary of against the Darkseer. Like, you want to create these stacks for the Medusa, but you can easily take them with the Darkseer on your side of things.
And we talked about this with what RSG had to do. You know, you're not slowing down Deuce and lane, you slow down the jungle buildup. They get a nice deep ward on the top jungle from that movement as well, so they'll be able to track TMV every single time he dips out of lane to try to build up those resources. And every single lost stack is a massive loss here for Natsumi. He needs to build up on that Deuce. You want to have that gold advantage with the farming speed you have. They are committing onto Exalern. Does have the Dream Coil though, so should still be safe.
Nice cookie. Very nice cookie there as the silence is going to come out. Now the Dragon Knight, the one in trouble as Dream Coil is going to land. He's thinking about snapping at Lelouch 1 inch away, and he does snap at the wrong time. Oh, he was a millisecond too early there on the Dragon Knight. That's rough, John. Lelouch, he was having a very good laning stage, and well, now he gives a kill away. Props to RSG for rotating both supports over, but oh, just snapping the leash at the wrong time. Not very good news at all for Polaris.
And that was him with his Dragon form up. Doesn't get the substantial damage he wants with a Sea Troop on that mid-tier 1. So just very well played from RSG to know that timing and get some punishment for that overcommitment. 2-1 start here for RSG. Looking good already towards the 7-minute mark. Slight lead coming up for Polaris, though, down to how free that Dusa lane is up top. But again, you've already done a good job of disrupting the top jungle stacks. The triangle stacks are being built up, but you already have the preemptive sentries down here from RSG. So the resources aren't quite being pooled up here for Natsumi. That's a worrying sign. The triangle of RSG is still very secure. Xiao Yu is just farming up the large camps for himself, getting the build-up he wants on his Darkseer, working towards the Ags timing that we tend to see from the Darkseers nowadays. And once you do have the teamfight combination on hand, once the threat of level 6s start to line up as we approach the 10-minute mark, and that's where Polaris' lineup kind of starts to feel a bit shaky. You're not going to have those early BKBs at that point, of course. It's still a ways off. The blink timing here for Lelouch could be met by the 10-minute mark if he does manage to find some more impactful movement out, or maybe take a tier 1. But as it feels right now, you're not seeing that aggression out from Polaris. They're playing a slower game, and that provides an opening for RSG to start to build into that 10-minute mark here with the level spikes.
It certainly does. Polaris still doing a great job of holding that net worth lead at the least, and most of that is sitting on Natsumi, who does get vacked into a wall, but is going to be just fine to walk his way out of there, or rather just TP out. But now Xiao Yu, he can get to work onto that top tier 1 tower, even taking the Medusa illusion for himself. So not too bad, just forcing the Medusa back to the fountain, but Natsumi still well and truly ahead in terms of net worth. It is going to be a matter of how they can protect this jungle, but well, at least for now, they do even find TMB at the top lane. So you look at the CS, it's not too bad for Xiao Yuan. In terms of net worth, he's only behind Lelouch and Natsumi now. Could be a very good game for this Darkseer, John, especially if he gets an early Aghanim Scepter, which is exactly what he's trying to rush.
Yeah, just that impact of the double Iron Shell, the added HP that provides you as well. It's going to be big in these fights. Combine that with the sustain coming through from your Warlock, it can be hard to start to get that burst off. Like the laning burst of Polaris was good. Down the line, it's not like they have something huge like, say, Finger or Laguna coming out, so some of these stalled out engagements could work in RSG's favor. So they're making a move up top.
That they are with the double Iron Shell. There's just no chance of survival. You can't show up here anymore. They want to try and protect their objectives on the side of Polaris because, again, they're trying to protect the jungle for the Medusa. But RSG, they've got this top lane down locked. You can't contest this any longer.
Yeah, and I'm just surprised Polaris kind of dip away from the aggression they were getting out with Force and Xavius there, as Xavius tries to protect top himself. They don't put TMV in the fire line, knowing that the Pugnant's a very soft target to go for. But you're still not achieving too much in the map. That doesn't really stall out the push. Xiao Yu's still getting some good punches into the tower. You already have level 6 in Xiao Bonbon, so he's free to roam around and watch the farming patterns. A full 2 levels ahead of TMV. Not a good time right now for the side of Polaris' supports.
Xiao Bonbon still just following this Medusa. Natsumi, he's got no mana shield on, but will turn it on at the right moment. They seem to know the Nyx is around. In fact, they do dust up just before Xiao Bonbon goes for the stun out. Nice spike Carapace, but it is not going to save his life. Nice dust there from Xavius. Realizing the Nyx was around somewhere, and well, Natsumi will remain safe for now. I can't say the same for the top tier 1 tower, though, for Polaris, but nevertheless, as long as they keep this Medusa farming, they'll be happy.
It's still not the greatest farming pace, though. It just goes back to those early blocks coming through from RSG onto the camps. Triangles not stacked up. Top jungles lost control, so not safe to farm in. The side of Polaris are start to get a bit of that shove in down mid. They do pop the Dragon form once more from Lelouch, but the response is coming through here from the side of RSG. They've already got, again, level 6 up on their Nyx. A little bit more for Roger, so no threat of the Golem just yet. Polaris is going to try to go for a smoke play, though.
That they are. See what they can get out of this. This will be an important smoke, because if you do manage to get a kill or two, you might be able to take the mid-tier 1 tower here with Lelouch. Exilern's a great target. They'll try with the Dragon Tail, but Lelouch, no, actually gets it. Solar Guardian's going to fly through to try and help out. Force, he's going to land, but not in time. Still, they'll find the puck, but now the Dream Coil is there. They may get wiped out. Xiao Bonbon, the vacuum, the wall is there. Xiao Yu making it right in time. They'll get a double. They'll still lose Xiao Bonbon on top. But it's not such a bad trade now for RSG. It's still favorable, though, for the side of Polaris.
You trade a mid for an offlane plus the support from each side. A bit bigger coming out from Polaris. They did manage to force some big team fight spells as well. And this is where RSG starts to have to take their time. And they're Their lineup is very reliable on that wombo combo. They had a great vac wall with the Impale. They had a good early chaotic offering to try and stall out that death on Exilern. But those are long cooldowns. Golems, 2 minutes plus. The wall is pretty long at this point as well, so your uptime on aggression isn't quite there, and this is where Polaris can start to feel a little bit comfier. They know their Deuce is probably safe playing the jungle now. You don't have Dragon Form for a little bit longer, but you are going to hit that blink timing on the Lush. And that should line up with when Dragon Form is back off cooldown. So you can start to get aggressive now on Polaris, playing with the threat of Blink Dragon Tail, and starting to threaten as well with that Solar Guardian we saw committed earlier. Still, for RSG's part, you mentioned the Dusa kind of just farming up. Same thing's happening for MKS. At a slower pace for our Tiny, but he does have a free lane. He's been uncontested, and the build-up is still coming out. You know, Echo Saber's almost done in MKS. Tiny still has those almost the same spikes as you saw before. Polaris much more interested in trying to chip away at the mid. They need to take control of the bot jungle and try to open up the map a little bit more, but aren't fully committing. So another Dragon Form out from Lush. He does have his fresh blink up though. So this could lead to that aggression that we were just discussing here.
Where are they headed though? Down to bot lane. They've got the Tiny. This would be a great pickup as MKS. He's going to try for the TP up lane. He might make it, but no! Cookie up from Xavius. Once again, this man, he's been on target with these cookies. Getting it right in time to catch MKS. That's a very important pick off there for Polaris Esports. Mid lane, however.
Natsumi.
Fight breaking out. Natsumi has been caught, and there's your fatal bonds, John. It's doing so much damage. Oh, they are getting melted. Hey, John, quick question. In fact, hold that thought, because Xiao Yu is going to run away, but I thought I saw something funny there. A bit of an interaction between Roger and the Pugna. When you life train your ally, you are taking damage. If you're Fatal Bonds, does that damage translate to the rest of the team? Because I could have sworn Fatal Bonds was doing damage to his whole team because of that life drain.
No, I don't think so. I think it was the Iron Shell burning through with the chains, perhaps. Life drain counts as HP removal, if I recall right. It's not a self-damage source, so it shouldn't, but potentially. I mean, that sounds busted because you just pick Warlock up against, say, the Puck Core, right? Because he rots and you're just spreading that damage around, so probably not still.
Oh, they got the puck. Nice setup again. Lelouch and Xavius going to find a very important kill there onto Exilern, and he's a man that's been having a lot of trouble on this puck so far. And now Polaris, they might be able to set up this mid-tier 1 tower. Dragon Form up in 10. They just lost their own mid-tier 1, so it's going to be very important to get this trade going. Upheaval is there. Jarbon Bond going to show up on the Nyx. There are wards down to scout this out, so Jarbon Bond, he's going to back his way out at the right moment. And RSG, they've protected the mid-tier 1 tower once again. It doesn't seem like this is something they should be able to get away with, but they're still getting away with it every time.
And it's just because RSG has the threat for the cooldowns being off. They've still got the Golem to play with Roger. It's a slower siege coming out. They didn't pump the Dragon Form back yet in Lelouch, so the siege just wasn't as quick. And the team fight's still present in some form for RSG. Wall is also available. Smoke out along with Vendetta here for Xiaobon Bon. Well, no Vendetta, but at least just the Iron Shell. Could get a good lineup down bot, but the side of Polaris have fully back off, just opting to play that slower game, opting to get the build-up. Could still find a juicy kill here if they overextend.
Well, they've got the Ags up now on Xiao Yu, so you've got a lot more kind of utility now with the Iron Shell, and of course the blink comes right after that, and it's not going to take very long. These are very good timings from our Darkseer. Mind you, again, Natsumi is still having a great time on the Medusa. Like this the rather safe lane Tiny has not had a good game at all. MKS, he's still struggling quite a bit, still yet to pick up the shards as well, though he is just about to have enough gold for it. But Natsumi is still well and truly ahead, and so is Lelouch. So all things being said and done, it's still a very good game here for Polaris Esports. The only fear I have is the net worth lead just isn't anywhere near high enough. As top lane, they are going to try and make the jump in onto the Snapfire, but MKS, he's gone too far. They've got the backup here from Polaris, and they're going to punish MKS. I'm not sure what he was trying to do there, John, but he does end up getting punished for it.
He tried to commit onto the snap, Solar Guardian just provides enough healing. Didn't quite get the failed bonds close enough. I mean, the hit on the Snapfire close enough to the creep wave, which did have the fatal bonds. I think they were trying to go for that burst play we were talking about with the chain damage. Not quite there. Polaris finds big punishment, and it's kind of to be expected that you see Natsumi #1. They did a great job in RSG on blocking the camps and all, though.
Easy kill onto Xavius. Lelouch even blinking in. Roger is around with the golem if they do need it. I don't recommend they start the fight without their tiny, but, well, speaking of the devil, MKS, he's TP'd up top. He's just going to keep farming. Said they'll bring in Xiao Yu to try and help out the team, and maybe now they could force a fight. They've got golem, they've got fatal bonds. There's Roger ruining my headsets here, John, with that with all that noise. Cancellation of the golem as Natsumi has been stared at, and Exilert gonna make the jump in with the back wall. Already all his mana is gone. Now the Darkseer is there with the Iron Shells and the Dream Core and the golem to be dropped. Natsumi, he cannot survive through it. They'll lose Xiao Bon Bon, but it's a great trade onto the Medusa. And John, you see how fast the mana is drained once you just jump Natsumi. It doesn't take long.
Yeah, you get the man burn off, you burn a lot through, and they are doing a good job of still keeping Natsumi in check. Again, you still expect Medusa to be ahead, even with all the camps blocked. She does have really good clearing in the jungle, despite no stacks, and in the creep waves. But you're not far ahead enough in Medusa, and we always talk about this when we see the Medusa, but it does feel like almost like a Luna type here, where you kind of want to have an item advantage because of the farm speed not quite materializing for Polaris. Less than 1k lead, aggression still being lined up here.
Yeah, mid lane, they'll try to make the jump in on the Snapfire. Poor old Xavier's losing so much HP already. And you know what, John, that is a cheeky combination as well. What I'm sure you will appreciate, the upheaval with the vacuum back with the Darkseer. It's kind of hard to get out of that. Mind you, Xavier does get out that time around, but it's a lot of slow with the vacuum to follow up. It is very challenging to get away.
Yeah, it's just one of those things with Warlock. Lots of really long-range control, especially pre-BKB. They do get a smoke up here in Polaris, though, knowing the golem's down and could try to find an angle.
Roger is going to break the smoke, but they'll make the jump in. Lelouch will be right on target, and that'll be Roger gone. Not the biggest pickup, but it's something here for Polaris, and it's just going to buy a bit more time now for the Medusa. Still, they are very desperate to try and get that mid-tier 1 tower down on the side of Polaris, and, well, sadly for them, Exilern's doing a very good job of just creep cutting right now on that mid lane. So instead, they are just going to have to make their way over. Lelouch, he's had enough. He'll go right after the mid-tier 1. No messing around.
Radiant's middle tower has
They do finally find the objective, have to pop the dragon form, but allows them to kind of clear out that triangle area as well, while still giving Natsumi enough space. Natsumi manages to avoid a gank coming through. There was a little bit of movement coming out with Xiao Bon Bon using that Vendetta. Does play a lot more cautiously on Medusa, and the game's still in a pretty equal state. I do love the forward vision that Polaris has. One laning ward down below in mid. Their ward on the triangle not spotted out by the sentry as well. So they've still got a lot of good angles to kind of come in and punish RSG if they find the opportunity to do so. They've already got this BKB up on force as well. So getting off the Solar Guardian, no threat of being interrupted by the Nyx with a Spike Carapace. And that should allow more angles to hook up with that Blink initiation from Lelouch. Side of RSG though, still feeling confident, still invading top jungle themselves. Already have that Blink up in Xiao Yu, so the back wall combos are ready to go, along with a normal punch as well, just giving more illusions here. See if they get the opportunity.
Jump in, but a very quick Spike Carapace out. Now the wall will be dropped. The Solar Guardian is going to try and help as they do take down Xiao Bon Bon. A great start. That might be it though. Polaris, they'll be happy with the wall being dropped by Xiao Yu, and they'll find nothing for RSG's end of things. But they are still hanging around rather aggressively. Xiao Yu gonna make the run in with the normal punch out, but do you have the damage? Dream Coil is there. Exilern trying to set up, and now with the fatal bombs and the golem dropped, it could be quite a painful experience as they toss back Lelouch, but he's still alive. They can't take down the Dragon Knight. He'll pop his BKB out. Roger's down. MKS has to leave, and so does Xiao Yu. A nice turnaround here by Polaris Esports. Is Exilern? Oh, he gets connected by the cookie again. Can he make it out? He's gonna try with the orb away, but Lelouch is right on his tail, trying to chase him down with the Dragon Tail, but it doesn't come out yet. Blink away to the north. TP out. Can he make it? Oh, he cannot. They get him precisely here. Polaris doing a great job taking down the puck. And wishful thinking from RSG to try and go for that fight without Xiao Bon Bon.
Yeah, they tried to get the combination off. They have to commit the golem. Another long cooldown down for RSG, and some free gold for Polaris coming through by clearing out the golem as well. Big issue right now for RSG is that even if they get the fatal bonds off, if you don't get a good vacuum to follow up, your avalanche toss combo, that damage amplification from the bunch, spreading some damage around, doesn't really kick in. So Polaris have done a great job, at least in that fight, of distancing themselves from each other just to prevent that burst from coming through. And for RSG, things are starting to look a bit dicey. You have a 2k lead here in Natsumi over MKS. Still not the most massive lead for Dusa, but it can start to ramp up if you're not careful from this point forward.
Mid lane, Xiao Yu gonna jump in. They'll find the Snapfire. Impel will be there with the double Iron Shell. Xavius, he does mech up, and with the life train, they actually survive as now the turnaround is there. Solar Guardian will be committed, though Xiao Bonbon running very fast, but not fast enough. Is gonna get taken down as now the kisses have been expended. They saw MKS on that Tiny. They are gonna walk away, just losing their Nyx Assassin, but it's another great team fight here by Polaris. And you are getting to that stage now where Natsumi's going to start becoming a big issue. On that Medusa, with the BKB up in the Manta, you've got to be very cautious now as RSG. And even if MKS is catching up in net worth, he's still got a very long way to go.
Radiant
It's still quite some time for the Tiny to hit those major spikes, Silver Edge. And to blink, you're probably going to need your own BKB in this matchup. And that's still a long way to go. MKS has been forced to join in a lot of these fights as well, kind of taking away from his opportunity to catch up to that Dusa. On the side of RSG, they have to play around their cooldowns, and they have, but it does feel like some of these fights are forced out. MKS is trying to scout around with a Shadow Blade, but not going to find anything. And for the side of Polaris, every stall out just leads to better scaling. Luch working onto his Ags next. We've already seen his BKB in action. You mentioned it here for Natsumi. BKB up and running. He could opt for literally anything else afterwards now. Could go for Daedalus, could go for something like, say, the Butterfly build that we sometimes see. And you do run the risk of making your illusions super tanky, though, with a back wall normal punch, but they can't show you out anyway.
Yeah, Xiao Yu. They'll make a run out there with the Haste Rune, or rather the Surge from the Darkseer, as they do smoke up, but they were under creep vision. I think that might have been a bit of a misclick there. I mean, this is a very obvious smoke. A counter smoke is out from Polaris now. But again, they're very well aware that RSG is smoked at the moment. And they don't need to fight. They can just kind of avoid RSG. And Polaris, they have infiltrated that Radiant Triangle. So maybe they do want to fight.
Dire are scanning.
Mid lane, they're still hanging around. Xavier's going to get caught up, but no, the Impel does not connect. Instead, Leilouche will make the jump in onto the Nyx Assassin, so Xiao Bonbon is going to drop once again. Nice little pick up there by Polaris, though. Xiao Yu going to jump in with the back wall out into the normal punch onto the Medusa. Now the Golem and the Fatal Bond's out, but the BKB has been popped. Natsumi, he's happy to fight with the Stone Gaze. And even if they drain all the mana, they just don't have the damage output. And again, I don't recommend fighting without Xiao Bonbon. Like, he's one of your only great stuns here. In fact, they're still going to try. Leilouche, he'll get tossed back into the wall of the Darkseer as they might have enough. Leilouche just surrounded by illusions. Will go down. It's actually a decent trade here by RSG. But John, I was about to say, you're fighting without the Nyx. He's probably the best stun you've got on the side of RSG. And with that mana burn, very, very good against the Medusa. Somehow, though, RSG, they still win the team fight.
And the big thing was Polaris had to pop their BKBs to kill the Nyx. Those were 3 BKBs on all, of course. That means they can't re-engage. Even with, that big aspect of Nyx mana burn gone, your Dusa can still be very susceptible to the Fatal Bonds, to the Avalanche Toss coming through from the Tiny. Rosh is a bit of a slower process, though.
Oh, Xiao Yu got bashed. He got bashed by Roshan. That is so unfair. MKS, he'll get the Aegis, he'll run. It's still a massive win for RSG, but Xiao Yu, he gets bashed right as the kisses start coming in. So unfortunate.
What you need to do sometimes, Mikey, RNG sometimes just doesn't play in your favor. Still a good set of trades for RSG coming out. They find a couple of kills to take Roshan. They feel very secure now. With their Tiny, still only a 2k lead for Natsumi, so not massively ahead on the Dusa. The Tiny still has a little bit of bite in it. Going for the blink into the BKB next. I think the next things we have to see from RSG is, with the BKBs in play, you do have the Golem to counteract that. To play, to disable them through the BKBs, you're still going to want level 25 and X alert. So puck timing's probably the next big one at level 25, still a ways off. You are going for this Aeon Disc as well in Xiao Bonbon, so instantly bursting down the Nyx is not going to be as easy anymore once that item is up eventually. And that should allow more angles for the disable from RSG. Where we see RSG shine is when they manage to get that vac wall combination along with the Impale with the Fatal Bonds on top. Very easy to collapse onto someone. Polaris, again, just has done a fantastic job of avoiding that scenario. They're constantly sort of spaced out. If they do commit, it's usually when they only find a single hero. Like, they're happy enough to blow a lot of spells and BKBs on something like the Nyx. They just have to be cautious about that follow-through. And side of RSG, are feeling more confident here.
Oh, that's a great rather spike carapace. Xiao Bonbon, he sets up perfectly onto Force, but he's still alive. He'll pop his BKB and chase down MKS, but all the rotations may not pay off as MKS. He's fine to back out. Still, nice initiation from both sides. Nobody ends up dying. And they are going to smoke up. Polaris, even without the BKB of Force, want to try and make this one work. But John, I'm a bit afraid they might have been on division, that smoke. So they'll find Xiao Bonbon. Not the greatest kill, but it's something. Polaris to walk their way out of this.
Yeah, it's BKB forced out once more from Force, down to 6 seconds now. So, would have been an opportunity perhaps for RSG to play, but they would need Nyx in that scenario to kind of break the Solar Guardian. You get that opening without the spell immunity to use the Spike Carapace and ruin that initiation or counterfight from the side of Polaris. RSG, though, going to be using this time to just keep building up. They want this BKB up on MKS. It is going to be done soon. You are seeing a lack of burst coming through. Something even like the offlane Dawnbreaker is getting a bit too tanky for the time to deal with. Exilern pretty far forward here.
He has been caught out once again. These stuns from Lelouch, these initiations proving to be very effective here against XE Learn, and of this Puck has had a very rough game thus far. 4-4 and 5 is the scoreline for the Puck, and again, it's been a bit of a rough affair here for XE Learn. Seems to be all on the shoulders of MKS and Xiao Yu now. As Polaris, they'll try to get a bot tier 2 tower push going. It won't be too rough, but they don't have the Dragon form available. Glyph will be forced out, but there is going to be a big smoke out now from RSG. They make their way down bot. They've got the buyback on the Puck if they need it. Tier 2 tower dropping, but they've got the gold to set up. But Roger, he needs help. He can't initiate first. Instead, they'll come in from the backside. But MKS has been caught out and petrified. Xiao Bonbon's going to drop. MKS, he'll keep trying to force the fight as the buybacks are going to come through. But the Tiny, he's in big trouble. There's your back wall out. MKS, he's still trying. He actually found Force. How is he still alive? MKS, he's still fighting this one out.
Oh my God.
Natsumi goes down. He'll die to the fireball. The age is finally expiring. As MKS, I don't know how he made it, but they get basically a full team wipe on Polaris. The only survivor being the Dragon Knight. Oh, what a rough team fight for Polaris Esports.
They find a really good angle from RSG. A bit risky from MKS to pop the BKB before the Aegis goes off first. Like, he counted all in, but he had faith in his team to get the chain stuns off afterwards. Great golem use from Roger to keep MKS alive in that one as well. And they get their opportunity for high ground. This is still a Tiny with the Silver Edge and Echo Saber. The damage is still there. Level 20 talents up. Tower still just melt.
Yeah, look at this, Jonathan. So we do have a bit of a replay. Let's have a look and see what happened. It started off great. You get Xiao Bonbon and the Tiny. It was not a good time at all. In fact, there is going to be a team fight breaking out mid lane. No, they do back off. And MKS, I don't get how he survives. Like, he just keeps hitting, and nobody hits him back. There was a Decrepify on the Medusa, which I think affected him down the back wall. In the mid lane, into the Impale. Oh, they've melted again. Righto, we might need a second replay on that one. And this game, it might just be over. RSG, we talked about it, John. I think they doubted this draft a bit too early. As the buybacks are coming out, maybe they can defend. Polaris, they do get Xiao Bonbon once again. RSG, they'll back their way out of there. They've got the mid-racks down. And Polaris, I mean, they're really on the back foot now, John. Even Natsumi falling behind MKS in farm, and that's never a good sign.
And I think we pointed this out in the earlier part of this game, maybe around 20 to 15 minutes, where Polaris were doing good. You had a slight lead in Natsumi, but it never went beyond 2k gold, right? Like, as a Dusa, you kind of want to have one huge item ahead, like, say, a full Scotty worth of gold ahead of a hero, so around 4.5 to 5k gold ahead. That's when you feel really comfy in your Dusa's build-up, but you saw RSG kind of put a lid on that. Xiao Yu was keeping up pace, MKS managed to recover after a few rough starts, and it's kind of kicking into gear. For Polaris' end, the team fights can still be good. Their counter fight is still there with the potential coming through from Force, but it just feels like when it does come down to that 5v5, if RSG just managed to kind of dance around Stone Gaze, they have much better ways of dealing with all of the control from Polaris, right? Like, they've got Golem to go through BKB, they've got the normal punch illusions, they've got the Wall of Replica illusions, they've got the VAC combinations with the Fatal Bonds. It all kind of starts to line up, and for Polaris, the big part of these fights, it does feel like it's down to when they come in and when they use their BKBs, because we've seen them commit early BKBs for one support pick off here and there, and that just leaves so much room for the rest of the heroes to get work done. Without those BKBs, you will be a sitting duck to the vac wall, you'll be sitting duck to the Dream Coil. Exilern doesn't have anything to deal with that spell immunity, but every single time they jump shot Bon after popping a couple of BKBs, it just doesn't give them enough room to come back in for the following 4v5. And man, RSG just has so much more in that wide AoE. They have much more circles here, Mike.
Oh, it's a lot of circles, Jonathan. I know how much you appreciate the circle meta. So RSG, they might group up again, might force another smoke here into a big team fight. You don't have the Aegis, but we've seen it over and over again. If you can land the Dream Coil into a big vac wall or the other way around, it's so easy to take the team fight here for RSG. Polaris Esports, they're the ones to smoke up, but they're on the low ground right now. If they get caught out by Xiao Yu, this could be a disastrous team fight on a GG call to come. And they might run right into it. Polaris, do not run towards your own high ground in that dire jungle. Through the mid lane they go instead. They'll avoid the fight. RSG definitely thinking about trying to smoke up themselves, but won't do so yet. Instead, they head down bot on the side of Polaris. They might actually find Exilern. But he'll TP up back towards his team in the mid lane, and we'll be just fine the puck. And so Polaris, maybe just a bit of a smoke to get out there and get some farm going on this Dusa. That seems to be what it's all about. RSG, I don't think they'll mind. They hold a 6k net worth lead. And they're probably just going to start slowly pushing out top and maybe even just wait for next Roshan, which is up in 15 seconds anyway. Or maybe not. Maybe just force a fight. Exilern, he'll make a jump in and force. He is forced to pop his BKB a bit too early.
Yeah, it just goes back to what we said. You see one BKB committed out from any core of Polaris, you start to feel really confident for RSG in the next minute. If they find a window to use that early spell immunity pop, you have a lot going for you. You have good angles to take with Nyx, without the threat of Solar Guardian because of Spike Carapace being up, without any BKB on that Dawnbreaker. And as you mentioned, Mike, Roche is back up. They could just look for that easy Roche play, shove out the waves a little bit. Maybe look for a pick off first. It does like RSG wants a kill before anything else here, as they are still clumping around the jungle. But the Roshan is much more accessible for them. They have really good forward vision here as well. Ward down the mid lane. They spot the smoke. That was under vision. They saw Savior smoke up.
Here we go. This could be a bad team fight. Polaris, they've got to be very cautious about this one. Again, if they lose this team fight, the game's just basically over. Lelouch will make the first jump in. They've got Xiao Yu. It's a great target, but he's got Aeon Disc too. He's going to survive, and now the Dream Coil on the backside as they blow up the Dragon Knight. Not quite yet, though. Lelouch still alive, still forcing the fight. But Polaris, they've expended Stone Gazes. Now Xiao Yu's in with an rather wall and vacuum into the Golem, into the Fatal Bonds, and now the toss out. MKS will group them up. It's a disaster here for Polaris. They are just going to meld. No chance. They've got buybacks. I don't know what to tell you, John. This Darkseer, he's just carried the game for RSG. Xiao Yu, he's doing it all by himself.
Yeah, and I think I've said this every time we've seen Xiao Yu on team, whether it was his TNC days, whether the team before that, with Ghost. Xiao Yu has always looked amazing in the offlane, and he's just shining this game. All his playmaking heroes show up. The Darkseer's showing up. They're even chasing behind Tier 4. It's not going to be able to find that kill, but the pressure's on. Tier 4 is exposed. Aegis up on Tiny. The options here for Polaris look very slim, Mike.
I mean, they might just call it right now. They haven't bought back yet. There's your buyback out now. Polaris, they've got to try one last time. Still buybacks available here in the Medusa, but they want to see if they can hold out. They're just waiting a bit too long. Natsumi, now he'll buy back, but they can just go for the Ancient. MKS, he might just ignore them, or maybe Knocker's Force will jump in. Lelouch is there with the Dragon Tail, but Xiao Yu once again, a 3-man vacuum out into the upheaval. This Medusa is too darn close to MKS right now. That is not a safety range here for the Medusa, as Natsumi is still going to try and fight, but he's out of mana now. He's forced the BKB up, but look at this MKS. He's hitting the Ancient. He's ignoring the Medusa. It's all cleave damage out as MKS secures the game 1. Xiao Yu on this Darkseer, Jonathan. Did we ever doubt him?
No, definitely not. I mean, you know, you go back into RSG's draft, it just boiled down to one thing. Team fight, team fight, team fight. They had pretty strong lanes coming out as well. And plays for his course, you're like, oh, okay. But yeah, RSG, they have this great draft. They had the combinations with the Fatal Bonds. They had a great way of playing around these team fights. And for Polaris, I mean, they had great lanes, right? Like, they had that Dawnbreaker Snapfire lane. It looked pretty aggressive coming out. And then they just kind of take their time. They find some pickoffs onto the next, but in a couple of those fights, it cost them like 3 BKBs to get a support, and then RSGs just clump up and run back in. There was a lot of back and forth fights, but I think some of those engagements where they get the pick off on Xiao Bon, but are forced to pop 3 BKBs. That's when we see RSG walk back in, take these much more scattered fights, and come out on top. And of course, as you mentioned, Xiao Yu with a Darkseer, those Vac Walls were on point this game.
That they were, Jonathan, and you know who else is back? Mike LaPhoenix, prediction god, is back, Jonathan. How does he do it? I don't know. He's predicted another game winner here for RSG this time around. Let's go back to a short break, and right after that break, we're going to be back with our panel to explain why they were so wrong for game number 1.